You get a pastrami sandwich in England. On rye. And don't forget the pickle. Oh dear. I'm terribly sorry. The first generation Audi A3. It's one of the most advanced cars of the mid-1990s. But is it any good in 2019? Should you care? Why, let's find out, shall we? Audi, los geht's.
Here we are with anchors tying us to what we'll call home, even if the side of it has not yet touched our eyes. And here we are and we're together, even if we are apart. And we're together when we're together, something big is happening.
So welcome once again to Tweed Jacket Reviews. Today we are in Hampshire again, and I'd like to thank Cherise for lending me her beautiful 1998 Audi A3 1.8 SE. So thanks, Cherise. Verice. Before we get into detail about the first generation Audi A3, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, leave a comment below and like this video. It all helps out and makes us very happy. The first generation Audi A3 was launched all the way back in 1996. This is a 1998 model, and it actually came in before they even introduced a 5-door A3. That was in 1999. The car is based actually on the same platform as lots of other Volkswagen Group products, such as the Volkswagen Golf Mark IV, the Seat Leon Mark II, the Seat Leon Mark I, the Audi TT, and the Skoda Octavia. So it's quite a versatile platform, but this was one of the sort of more expensive variants that you could get on that particular module. One of the reasons I wanted to film this car is because this was the second car that I ever sourced in my career as an independent vehicle consultant. That was about 2.5 years ago. And at that particular time, this car had only done 43,000 miles and I had 2 owners from new. A lot of the time this car spent was in actually central London, and the person who owned it before Cherise did hardly any mileage in it. And it's in beautiful condition actually for a car that's 21 years old. The engines available in the first generation Audi A3 were 1.6 litre with about 100 horsepower, a 1.8 litre like this one with 125 horsepower and 5 valves per cylinder, and then there were 2 turbocharged versions of this engine, a 180 horsepower version and later 150 horsepower version. The 180 horsepower version was the same engine as in the Audi TT, and like the Audi TT, was available with 4-wheel drive. If you really want to go crazy in your first generation A3 though, you can get the S3, which has around 220 horsepower. And of course there were some diesels, 4 of them, but we can't talk about those. Let's talk instead about the trim levels. At the time that Audi was making this car, BMW didn't really have trim levels as such. They had sort of option packs, and it's a little bit like that with the A3. So there was just a base trim, just literally like A3 1.6, and there was an SE model, which this is an SE, and a sport version. The SE got you things like climate control and electric mirrors, electric windows and alloy wheels. I'd personally recommend stepping up to an SE if you can, because the base model really is very basic. In terms of the driving experience of first generation A3, this car feels surprisingly modern. Now, we've got the automatic here, and it's an old-fashioned unit, it's only got 4 speeds. But if you had a 5-speed manual, it would feel remarkably contemporary. The steering is very communicative, but it's light enough. The car is very refined, the interior is very high quality, and the handling's really good. I'd say probably out of all the cars that were in this class in 1996, this would be the one that today would feel the most modern to drive. In terms of fuel economy, this 1.8 litre, especially when fitted with this 4-speed automatic gearbox, isn't very economical at all. In fact, you'd probably struggle to get 30 miles per gallon in town. If you really want to save money though, you can buy one of the diesels, but of course I can't tell you about those. The 1.6 petrol is a bit underpowered, so I wouldn't recommend that one either. The first generation A3 was facelifted in 2000, and those cars can be identified with different lights and also different door handles. Compared with a modern car, this car actually has very, very good visibility. I don't know if they even offered parking sensors on an A3 at the time, but I don't think you really need them. It certainly looks relatively modern, but actually it does feel in that respect like an older car in the best way possible. So what would you pay for a car that's like this? Well, this one was not particularly expensive. It was 4 figures, but I won't tell you the exact amount of money that we got this for. But you can get an MOT'd A3 for around £500. The reason I wouldn't recommend you do that is because a lot of these cars haven't been very well maintained, for the simple reason that they don't actually hold their value that well at this particular sort of age. So I'd recommend you step up to maybe about £1,500 and get a lovely example, maybe similar to this one. That is a really smooth drive for something from the mid-1990s. That was really nice. Anyway, let's have a look in the boot. The boot is around 300 litres in this particular car, which for a car in the mid-1990s was perfectly acceptable. It's not the biggest, but then you could buy a Skoda Octavia, which had a huge boot. And of course, we've got a full-size spare wheel underneath here. One of the neat things about the boot, I mean there's no 12-volt socket or hooks in here, is that you can put things like coat hangers down the side. The shape is nice and square. It's not the biggest, it's about the same size as a contemporary Ford Fiesta probably. But yes, you don't buy this car principally for its space, you buy it for its solidity and style. This being a 98 A3, it's always a 3-door model. There was no 5-door till 99. So we're going to have to get in this way. It's reasonably easy. As you can see from where my knee is, this is my driving position. I'm 5'11". I can't really get in back behind myself. I could pull this seat forward here, but then you wouldn't be able to see me. There's not a lot of room in the back of the 3-door A3. Nice and comfortable though, lovely seats. All the materials are really high quality, but I think the rear seats are best left for occasional use. It's much better in the front of the A3. These seats are extremely comfortable, and in this particular SE model, they're trimmed in this lovely Alcantara. It's probably one of the nicest interiors I've ever seen from a car of this era. At a time when Rover were making the 400 and all their switches were from 1980s Hondas, this car is a revelation. Everything feels really solid, very nicely built. Dashboard's soft touch material, the door top feels really solid, the door handles feel really nice, the switches are really nice. This car really set a benchmark for interior quality. If you've ever driven a Volkswagen product of the last 20 years, then you'll feel instantly at home. The switches are very logically laid out, the dials are very clear, and they're nice and simple as well. This is a car that doesn't have a touch screen. It doesn't have any sort of fancy sat-nav system or anything like that you have to use your phone for, and so everything is just really simple. The glove box is quite sort of flat, but it's big enough for secret mission documents. The door pockets are really small actually. I'm surprised that you know, they even put those in. The rear, the armrest here, that's a little bit fragile, so I won't show you that. But overall, the cabin's not up to the standards of a modern car, but it's okay in terms of space. This being the SE model, there are electric mirrors and electric windows, climate control, and this would originally have had a Sony CD stereo unit. That had to be replaced when we bought the car. Apart from that, there's not an awful lot, but then again, if you're buying a car from this era, they don't come with a lot. One thing I've noticed on this car, having driven it today, is that the driver's mirror isn't parabolic. What it means is it has quite a narrow field of view, and I had a scary moment on a motorway pulling out in the path of, funny enough, another Audi, because I couldn't see where it was. So just be aware when you buy one of these to do that all-important blind spot check when you're pulling out. Now this car does have twin front airbags, but there's nothing like blind spot monitoring or reversing camera or anything like that. So you just got to take a bit more care when you're driving around. Mind you, everything does feel really solid when you're driving, and I wouldn't think the same, say, like a Renault of this era. What do I think of the first generation Audi A3? Well, it is among the most modern cars of its time. Second-hand prices of these are still really cheap, and they offer excellent quality and value for money. Because so many of the parts are shared with other Volkswagen Group products, they do make for a reliable daily driver and potentially a future classic. Oh, excuse me, I'm terribly sorry. Do you think the Limeys can handle him? It's a good thing he's straight. Can you imagine if Dempsey was a hood? Thank you for watching this episode of Tweed Jacket Reviews. My name is Joseph Lloyd. I'm an independent vehicle consultant. I find cars for people. Please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to do that. Don't forget to like this video and to leave a comment below. If you wish me to source a car for you, I'd love to do that. My website is www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk. Please use the contact me page on my website to get in touch. I've got a Facebook page as well. It's facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you.
Good take, mate.
Right, good. Just get my foot out of here. Oh my gosh!